Welcome, everybody. Happy Nurses Week. My name is DeGregorio Rosen. I'm a professional registered nurse. I've been a nurse for longer than some of you have been born, been walking the earth. I've been a nurse for 45 years. My history is in trauma and burns, so I worked in all the combat zones that you could think of in the Northeast. I'm here today to talk to you, and I'm not doing slides, and that's for a specific reason, because I want you to pay attention to what I have to say. I'm here to talk about a very serious and controversial issue, and for those of you that find this uncomfortable or find it triggering, I really suggest that you stay and listen to what I have to say. I'm going to talk about addiction, and I'm also going to present you with what a gentle approach to addiction can be. Because addiction is pretty widespread throughout the healthcare profession, contrary to what we'd like to believe. Okay, here it goes. All right, so addiction. The idea of addiction is ancient, and it's from a form of devotion to that of enslavement. Confucius understood excessive use in all aspects of life, and he suggested moderation. There are ancient grave sites from China to the Middle East that indicate use of magical mushrooms as far back as 10,000 years ago. And I think Jamie shared a little bit of that in her presentation. The old rule of thumb is that 1/3 of our addicted population gets better. 1/3 stays the same and sometimes relapses and goes in and out. And the other third dies. Scary stuff, right? Okay, so let's take a step back. What exactly is addiction? Addiction is a complicated and multifaceted condition that affects our brain's neural pathways. It's chronic, and it depends on certain substances that cause impairments in activities of daily living. It is a condition of the mind, body, and spirit, and takes no prisoners. Addicted substances, as we well know, cause a feeling of euphoria and also feelings that avoid pain. Drug and alcohol dependence has been coined due to relapse rates as a chronic condition. And so you can compare that to for the general public, high blood pressure, asthma. They're simple, but they're complicated diseases, and so is addiction. Addiction rates are as high as 50 to 70%, as far as can be determined, but we don't really know how many people suffer from it because we are anonymous. Chronic substance use can disrupt the brain's normal balance. Now, we have this pain, pleasure, reward system, and it's better known as the feel-good transmitter. It's that reward that strengthens this habit. It does push-ups outside of your body and whispers in your ear, and it creates a craving to do more. The system is known as your dopamine transmitters. Now, for those of us in healthcare, we're more familiar with dopamine as being a part of intensive care. We'll give you more dopamine IV to support your blood pressure if you have a life-threatening injury or illness. Many addicts, they seek help through conventional therapy recovery, such as inpatient programs, 12-step recovery programs. And these programs, they work. But one has to put their mind, and the only desire to get into these programs is a desire to stop using or stop drinking. The cycle of addiction is a vicious cycle. It is an insidious disease, and it tells us that we are not sick, but we are. We're very sick. In 2019, the American Society of Addiction Medicine described addiction as treatable, a chronic medical disease that involves interactions among the brain circuits, genetics, environment, and individual life experience. Addicts use substances to engage in compulsive behavior. And I could tell you a bookload of impulsive behaviors that I have used in the past. There is no single event or factor that causes addiction. It's its own private hell. There's no cure-based medicine for the disease of addiction. And I talked about this yesterday to a group of recovering addicts. The recovery process is really based on spirituality, but that's a choice that must be made by that healthy part of us, by our soul, by our spirit. A clean and stable mind can support all these attributes, and it can establish our own recovery program. that can release us from the bondage of self-will. And I want you to remember that word self-will very, very carefully, because addiction is self-will run rampant. When we take our will back without reaching out for help, we will again engage in these behaviors if we're addicted. There's so many tools that we can use, and that's really a personal choice that we all make when we go into recovery. One of the tools that I find to be really useful is using CBD. It's there, it's out there. You can buy it in any store. Of course, there's better products than not. It's in baked goods, it's in smoothies, it's in skincare, it's in hairstyling creams. And because it's a leading ingredient in the plant, it's part of that entourage effect. It's the other side. It's the side that's non-psychoactive. It's the side that does not get you high. But it is capable for relieving a vast number of symptoms. And those symptoms would probably be withdrawal, because it's non-psychoactive, nausea, the shakes, insomnia. There's a whole list out there that I could name. Our endocannabinoid system, when you combine it with CBD, helps restoring balance. And that's really important. There's no shame in considering CBD in addiction recovery, but I will advise you and tell you that it is in conjunction with other therapies. So other therapy modalities shouldn't be just poo-pooed and passed aside because CBD is out there. We need talk therapy. We need group therapy. We need so much stuff. We need to read. We need to learn. We need to understand what the 12 steps of recovery are. And I know a lot of people don't like the 12-step recovery program for whatever reasons, in the past, because it was religious and it was this and it was that. However, if you read the 12 steps give you a design for living, just like the 10 commandments, just like the laws of the land. Okay. Thou shalt not kill. I think that's pretty simple to understand, right? Okay. So recovery, what does it do? It lies in treating the whole person and holistically, mind, body, and spirit. It also provides a path to the journey to sobriety. Research, of course, has been limited, but it has been performed on both animals and humans that are addicted to stimulants and opioids also. Understanding this simple yet complex mode of therapy, while it may be promising, this is a very, very important factor. It's crucial to share openly with your healthcare provider. Everyone reacts differently. And why is that? Because we're all different. There are some guidelines that are available if you want to use CBD. We kind of recommend going with starting slow, how you're usually told when using any kind of cannabis. You can start from 5 to 20 milligrams. Medium would be 20 to 100 milligrams, and a high might be 108 to 800 milligrams. That may sound a lot, but it's really not. It's CBD. CBD is not a non-addictive. Doesn't get you high. And there's never been a death related to the use of cannabis. This is a gentle alternative. So now I will take you into one of my other favorite topics and tools. So I will tell you, namaste, my friends. Your aura is the window that protects you and allows for your intuition to see what's next. Yoga is one of my favorite topics and tools. Yoga is based on spirituality, and its duality with the recovery process is supportive because the 12 steps in recovery coincide very closely with the spiritual principles of yoga. In yoga teachings, it is said that drugs and alcohol have adverse effects on our aura and creates weaknesses. This is one way that addiction can enter our energy field. Did any of you ever hold your hands together like this? And I'm going to demonstrate this to you, and you can think I'm foolish doing it, but it works. It works. And when you bring your hands together, your hands keep going together and going together and going together until you reach a certain point where you actually feel the air move your hands apart. That's your aura. Your aura is not going to let anything in. It's there to protect you. We practice, we learn, we breathe. If you can breathe, you can do yoga. We find poses that work for us. We take direction. It teaches us how to make amends. which is something I'm not like great at, but I do it. We become accountable. Yoga teaches us discipline, and discipline is for that ongoing maintenance. And that's how we remain accountable in our practice. The complementary natures of holistic care using CBD therapy, talk therapy, yoga, the new innovative treatments that we see and we are now learning with psychedelics, which was actually started way back in the 50s. Bill Wilson, the father of the AAA-NA programs, he went to Harvard and he did a session with some of the chemists there using LSD as a treatment for alcoholism. And it did work and he liked it. And he went back to his community and told them all about it. But like, you know what? They weren't having it. And neither was the DEA and neither was, well, the DEA wasn't around yet, but neither was the Nixon administration and the rest of the world, you know? So it got kind of like tossed to the wayside. That's too bad, but that's okay. We get better. You know, we learn to accept and release our ego because although we may be different, like I said previously, we are also all the same. So we practice our compassionate detachment as in people, places, and things. We learn there are things to let go of because they're not good for us. You know, I wanted to mention this to everyone. Because I've been a nurse for so long and I've been in the Northeast metropolitan area, on September 11th in 2001, the terrorists killed nearly 3,000 people in my community and injured more than 6,000 others. And that was the worst attack against our homeland. And I know everybody's still caught up in the COVID epidemic and how we were on lockdown. Well, we were on lockdown then too. I worked on Wall Street. I worked right in the heart of where 9/11 happened. And I didn't happen to be there that day, just like everyone else I worked with. We were called to a meeting in Albany. And why I mention this is because it's an important factor for me. Because my name is Sue, and I'm a drug addict, and I'm an alcoholic in recovery. Oof, and that's a rough thing to say. So that started the perfect storm for me. I had a nice excuse, a really good excuse. Now, I lived through the 60s and the 70s and the racial riots and having kids when I was a teenager and all of that. You know, I pushed myself into the EOF program and I got myself in school. I waited online for government issued cheese and blah, 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 blah. And you know what? All I did was recreational stuff. And that was fun. That was fun. Okay. Until 2001, when it wasn't fun anymore, when all of a sudden something gave me a little click in the head. And now I had a better excuse to use. And I continued to. I became addicted to benzodiazepines and alcohol. Those were my drugs of choice. Benzos because they were easy to get, as dangerous as they can be. And you know what? And they're, I don't know, Schedule 3 or Schedule 4, whatever, however they're scheduled, but they're really dangerous and they're really hard to get off of. And I can tell you that from personal experience. And alcohol because, you know, we go, where do we go? We go to bars, we're with a bunch of people, you know, we're drinking. And so I drank more and I drank more and I drank more. Anyway, that's my war story. I'm not going to bore you with the particulars because they're ugly. What I did do was, though, after a lot of back and forth with my family and my loved ones and what have you, I crashed. I crashed and burned. So I did enter a rehab. I had to go to detox. It was a nightmare, and rehab was a nightmare. And finally, I was transferred to another rehab program, which was great. It was wonderful. And I was able to find my way out of this miserable hell I was in. It was a very scary time. I have been sober today is my sober anniversary, and I am sober for 9 years today. So with that, I give you this gentle approach. There's no shame in being addicted. And, you know, somebody said to me the other day, another nurse friend of mine, I was talking about my anxiety about opening myself up to all of you about me, about who I am. And she said to me, Sue, if you can reach one nurse that's afraid, that can't come out there, then you've done what you're supposed to do. And I hope I have. So thank you, everybody. Namaste and peace out.